Welcome back to another video. It's Bradford v Grimsby Town match reaction. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Like the video if you do, subscribe if you're new as well. Big shout out to Maka as well. Saw him at North Parade after the game. That's why the video's out a little bit later than usual. But a point, I'm not going to argue with a point. Against a very solid side, we keep the unbeaten one going. But that first half was atrocious. Mark Hughes has a lot of questioning to do with that. He did actually come out in his post-match interview saying he'd been working on a high press and we didn't execute that in the first half, and the three forward players didn't push up the pitch enough. And I do think that. I think Derbyshire, he's just useless up there, doesn't offer any outlet. Whether that's Pointon and Walker being too central, and that's not down to them, that's down to the shape and the setup that we're playing in at the minute. They're playing us in this very organised shape where we are very hard to break down, and we are hard to break down, but we're going to put pressure on yourself, and that's how they got the goal through Danny Rose. I'm just going to quickly touch on Grimsby. I was quite disappointed with them and Paul Hurst. I thought, it's as much as a game of two halves as you will get. They dominate the first, we dominate the second. We deserved a draw on the balance of play, but you look at both managers and you think, well, if you're managers and we are, you get paid all that money to be managers of our football clubs, because the thing that separates you, because you played the game, because you know the moments in game, because you're both experienced managers. I think Paul Hurst is nearly 50, Mark Hughes is nearly 60, although 10 years apart, very experienced in the game. They should know when to make the changes, how to make the changes, and what changes to make to put the game back into control of your team. Neither managers did that, and like I said, that's why we got such of a big swing in halves, because if they dominated the first half, because Hughes didn't change out, he was stubborn, didn't want to. You can't blame him from changing to the 3 at back to the 4 before half time, because that'd be wrong to bring Kelly off, who was the scapegoat for Mark Hughes from that back 3 to be more adventurous in the final third. That'd be unfair to do that, but not to just say Pointon and Walker just go out on the wing. And I hate saying stuff like that because it's so bloody obvious, but that's how simple it is. Because you saw all that first half, McDonald and Smallwood got the ball in midfield. I said in my preview, Grimsby are going to set up in a way where they're going to be high line, they're going to be compact, they're going to set traps, so when we get the ball and we want to play out, they're going to be putting a press on to intercept those passes. And when the ball went into Smallwood and McDonald, because they've got no energy, because they're too slow, because they're too old, they can't do a half turn. And then when they did, they had no options to play forward because Walker and Pointon, and like I say, it's not down to them, it's a system that's faulty. You can't persist with a system where the players don't know what they're doing, the fans don't know why they're playing it, and the manager is coming out in press conferences blaming the players because he set them up in a way that they haven't gone about in the first half. And that Mark Hughes, whether that's him dishing out the players and saying, throwing them under the bus, saying they haven't played how I wanted them to, sort of protecting his back, whether you interpret it that way or whether you interpret it the way that the players aren't playing for the manager. There's two very bad scenarios that are going on there where the centre is Mark Hughes and the 3 at the back. And I've said time and time again, if Mark Hughes doesn't drop the 3 at the back, it's not my opinion, it just will be a fact at some point, whether it's in October, November, Christmas, or whether it's at the end of his contract. He will not be managing Bradford City next season, because they won't be success this season with Mark Hughes playing the 3 at the back, because there's no outlet. Even when Cook were up front, we'd just throw a long ball up to him, he'd be too isolated, because players weren't getting around him unless we had Patterson in the team, and it just doesn't work defensively. Apart from conceding the goal because of an inch perfect cross, which Platt, he didn't jump, but I think it would have just missed him anyway. And Danny Rose has met the cross and scored because of that moment of very good bit of play from Grimsby. That's why they got the goal. Apart from that, we were pretty sound defensively, but it's not pretty to watch. And do you want a 0-0 draw every week, or do you want a 3-3, 5-4 exciting game, where you concede 3, we concede 4, we'll score 4. We want entertainment, we're not getting value for money. Now, if we go up in the top 3, top 7, go up through playoffs, I'm not going to complain, but I'm not seeing any pattern of play, any progress, any signs of we are going to be going up the season. Apart from the players on the pitch, I believe are good enough to, I don't always buy this, the players are rubbish, we need to get rid of them. There's a player in there somewhere, and unfortunately, all these managers we've had in the years haven't been able to get the best out of them. It's not a coincidence that we've had players who have gone on to do better elsewhere than ours, because our managers either haven't put trust in them, haven't put faith in them, or haven't put them in the best system for them. When you look at the players who came on, Osa Derby, who I think he's not a player who can come on and make an impact. I think he's more of a starter, because when he comes off the bench, he tries too hard. I think that's the problem with him. He'll hang on to a ball too much. He'll play like it's a hot potato. He tries too hard, and I think that's his problem. Whereas when he's starting, like against Mansfield, I thought it was a very, very good performance for him, and unfair not to start today. Gilead changed the game when coming on. He was a starter last season. You've got Tompkinson, a very highly rated centre-back, who I think will be fantastic if he gets one of games. Tulloch and Defoca came on, really exciting direct ringers who had pace, a bit of trickery, both in various moments in the game, went past a couple of players, and, we saw glimpses of they could be fantastic players for us. Smallwood and McDonald, I think you play one of them on your own in the midfield too when you're playing a four at the back. If you're playing that's another thing as well. When you're playing a three at the back, you do not start Smallwood and McDonald together. I've already mentioned it, the two slow, too old, but you need the energy in there, and especially with a three at the back, your back three don't need protecting that much, and that's why I completely disregard Mark Hughes saying that we're set up to play a high press, because no one sets up to play a high press with a back five, Smallwood and McDonald in midfield, and Derbyshire up front. Pointon is a star boy at the minute, and I've said on Twitter, don't know if I stand by it, but I definitely think he'll be a top player. I said he'll play for England one day, you've heard it here first, and I don't want to overhype him, although I have just there, but heat of the moment stuff, but he's got everything you need. He's fantastic on the ball. His decision making for a 19-year-old is fantastic. I think he had the best pass accuracy for a player in our team. He's got a great first touch. His composure is second to none. The assist for Gilead's goal was all down to him, and he runs his socks off. He's got the effort levels. He's got the mentality. I believe every time I hear him speak, he's grounded. He's very level-headed. He don't get carried away with himself, and that's just a couple of interviews, but I genuinely believe that he's a good lad, and he's got the ability to go with that. And when you combine those two things together, that's a very scary prospect for the opposition. But a very exciting prospect for us that we've got one of our own coming through the academy, playing like that, winning man of matches, dragging the team through the mud, and influencing these senior players to behave like him. He's already a natural leader. You've got players coming out in the interviews like Gilead saying how good he is in training, and other senior players, and it's so exciting. And I don't want to overhype him, but it's hard not to when you've got someone like him coming through. And also I would just like to add, I'm glad that he hasn't, if he has been offered an academy like you've seen that one who went to Brighton, was it Sahil Bashir, the one who went to Forest, I think one went to Wolves, they've been offered academy places in elite academies. I don't know if Pointon has, I can't say if he has or hasn't, but I'd like to think he has, and I'd like to also think that he's turned it down to try and start off at City, and I really rate that if he has as well. So it's really exciting what's going on with Pointon. I've seen somewhere, I didn't follow it up, so I do need to, but I've seen somewhere that his contract's up at the end of the season. Now, if it is, we've got to offer him a contract tomorrow, because we cannot afford to not only lose him for nothing, but if he is going to go, you get a fantastic fee for him. You make sure you do that, but also, you make sure that he's nailed on to be a Bradford City player next season. We'll go through the player ratings then. It's out of 5 being the best, 1 being the worst, 3 being the average. Harry Lewis for me gets a 3 because I can't remember him making a save. Grimsby, how many shots did he have on target? 3, one of them obviously being the goal. I can't remember anything he did of note. Distribution was much improved. I feel like he's much more confident, and he's back to the Lewis we know, so I'm glad he's got back to that, but a 3 for me. Matty Platt gets a 3. I would have given him a 4, but when I've seen the goal, there's no excuse not to jump over in slow motion. It does look like it's the easiest thing in the world. Was it already past him? Yes, but you've got to jump. But in terms of his overall performance, I thought he was very solid at the back, and he came out at the back free and won a few tackles, and they were the only one out of the 3 centre-halves who actually tried to get the team up the field by just stepping out instead of just sat, in the 6-yard box. But I thought apart from that goal, I would have given him a 4 and the contender for man of match, but because of the goal, I've seen it a lot of times and it is poor. Sam Stubbs gets a 3. In a 2, he can play a bit more on the edge. He hasn't got that protection of another centre-back where in a 3 maybe he's a bit more complacent. In a 2 he can be a bit more aggressive because he knows it's all in or all out, and if you're all out then you're going to miss the ball, and you're way too open then. So I think that suits him a lot more playing on the edge, but a 3 for me because I think we're just average. Kelly, a 2. It's hard to judge him after 45 minutes, but I do think he was the poorest out the 3 centre-halves. I thought down that side, Ganua, I've already mentioned him, he did very well against Kelly and he got him booked, I believe rightly. He had a couple of troubles with pacing behind him as well. Switched off a couple of times and that ball played in the channel. And, I think he's had better games, but I don't want to massively criticise him because he only had 45 minutes. Richards gets a 3. I think Richards was okay again. When you get a 3, you're just being average, and I think again he's had better games. There's a lot of pressure on him down that side. Brad Halliday gets a 4 man of match contender, definitely one of the positives for me. Defensively sound again, really solid at the back, doesn't let a lot past him. And then going forward, especially in the second half, I think Marais said something about it, where when he was playing as a wing back, he wasn't getting as forward as much as he was as a full back. That's because he could overlap. He had an option to play down the line. He had an outlet. With Bobby Pointon down that side, he had an option. Small gets a 3. He's got a bit of criticism again. I don't mind Smallden. I thought first half performance he was just okay. Second half I thought he was slightly better, but is it warranted a 4? I don't think it is, but I thought on the ball, and in terms of a lead, you need players who want the ball, and he definitely wanted that in the second half. He went into a bit of a back 2 at times, formed with a Stubbs or Platt and took the ball off him and was spraying it around the park in behind to Pointons, and really took control of the game and were dictating the play, and that's what you need from a midfielder. So I thought in the second half, in terms of on the ball play, fantastic. McDonald gets a 2, not fully because of how poor he was. Like I say, he didn't get given a lot of time. I think he came off at half time. I think it comes back to it being Hughes' fault and not on the players, because you can't play him and Smallden in a midfield 2 with a back 3. I've already said that. So that downgraded his performance levels because he can't play that way. So it simply has to be a 2, mainly down to Hughes playing him in that system with those players around. Jamie Walker gets a first half, to be fair, it was much better in the first half than the second half because he was trying to make things happen. He was trying to link up with Derbyshire and Pointon because there was no outlet. He took it upon himself to try and get a couple of 1-2s and run in behind Derbyshire. It was one of the only outlets, so you've got to praise him for that. But second half, he was non-existent, and to save how much the ball we had, he didn't create very much. He puts a lot of effort in. He's Mr. Passion, but he just lacks a bit of consistency, doesn't he, Walker, at times? And I think that comes with maybe a bit of tired legs, but maybe we need to monitor him a bit better as well with that. Bobby Pointon gets a 4 man of match, very close to getting a 5, but I don't like to go for 0s or 5 unless it's been an incredible performance for either way. I've already said my bit on Pointon, a majestic performance, and he's one of our own. Matt Derbyshire gets a 1, mainly because, like I said, he needs to retire because he's just a moaner. I see him get the ball towards him, and he's always, going like that. He's always stood there, glutting along, muttering to himself. You can see it on his expressions and his body language. He's such an infuriating player to watch from the stands because maybe his age, he's doing that because he knows himself that he can't get onto those balls. Maybe in blaming the players, but that's something we've seen a lot this season. Players, shouting at each other throughout the season, whether that's a good thing or a bad thing. I'd lean more on the bad because it doesn't seem to be constructive, a lot of it. We're back at home next weekend against Harrogate. I think that we're now 11 games unbeaten at home, or 10. A very good unbeaten run at home. So that's something that I'm glad about, that keeps continuing. The draws concerning this season, it's very open league table. Next Saturday against Harrogate, we will be playing a back three. You all know it. You know, we all know Mark Hughes now. You know, that's just how it is. That's what it's going to be. So I'm very quickly turning on Mark Hughes, but I'm not Mark Hughes out yet. The second half performance has left me with a few positives I can take from that. But believe you me, if he plays a back three on Saturday, and it comes out at 2 o'clock that he's got that back three ready for Harrogate, I might be used out then, because it shows a level of stubbornness that just isn't welcome. You know, if you can't accept, I mean, he got asked in his post-match interview, you know, is the team more comfortable in a back four? And he said on the basis of the second half, then yes. But on the basis of the whole entire of last season and the whole entire of this season, obviously much more comfortable in a back two. Stubbs is much better in a back two. Platt's much better in a back two. The midfield complements each other. We're more attacking. When you're at home, I'm sorry for going on, but when you're at home and you've got the 12 man in Bradford City fans, you get us going, you get momentum, you get goals, you get the cop going, you'll get loads of goals in that end. You saw in the second half, you know, we only scored because of the fans, and, you know, bigging ourselves up, but, you know, we dragged that ball in the back of the net, I believe, because, you know, Gilead don't shoot from there. It was just a momentum thing. You know, the fans are behind us. We've had about 20 odd corners in the second half. How many corners did we have in that game? We only had 7. Well, they almost come in the second half then, but it felt like we had 30 odd corners. No ever came from them, but you know, if you build momentum, you're going to create loads more chances, and if you get the fans behind you at home or away, but more importantly at home, you're going to get that momentum to take you into your next chance, and then to keep coming. The pressure builds on the opposition. If you get shots off, you saw the Halliday shot that just went over the bar, that were momentum, that the fans getting behind him, and you will win loads of home games if you play like that, because people falling out in love with the city again, like they were when Adams was sacked. You know, if we made a bad point, then we would have been somewhere near 12,000 season tickets or 10, because, you know, Mark Hughes, yeah, he's brought the atmosphere back together, but slowly now the tide's turning. You've got people who are massive Hughes in turning, you know, thinking, is he the right man? Is he clueless? Do the players actually like him? Is it just because he's so relaxed as a manager that the players aren't turning on him? Is it because it's, you know, like the England camp, right? It's all a happy club and, you know, I'll play darts with you. You know, we've got to be very careful that we keep the fans on board, because the fans is what keeps the club going at the end of the day. You know, you're very lucky that we get, you know, nearly 20,000 fans in League Two. We deserve better. That's where I'm going to leave it. Like the video if you did, subscribe if you're new, heading towards 300 subscribers. Let me know your thoughts, more importantly, in the comments down below. Have a good one.